The outbreak of the French Revolution of 1789 was inevitable, discussed. So we are saying today Kasoma Faruq of Uganda is putting a caveat on that number. I don't expect any student to fail that what? That number. So we are saying the French Revolution of 1789 was a fundamental change which took place in France, where the peasants, who were 23 millions, had to rise up against the nobles and the clergy, who were 2 millions. So we are saying the year 1789, the masses of the middle class, peasants, and the disgruntled nobility rose up against the despotic Bourbon monarchy of King Louis XVI. The despotic system of government was replaced by the revolutionary and the republican governments. So we are saying the year 1789 was not a normal year, because in this year people rose up and staged a revolution. I can tell you the big names in this revolution. There was a man called King Louis XVI with the wife Marie Antoinette. Some of the leading players against this king, we had big names like Mirabeau. We had Lafayette, a man who fought in the American War of Independence. Louis XVI made a strategic mistake. He sent the French soldiers to go in America and help the Americans to get their independence. But when they reached there, they realized that the people they were helping, they were even far better than them. When they came in France, by this time they were led by a man called Lafayette. Lafayette convinced the people that were there in America helping those people, but the people we are helping are even far better than us. That's why people joined Lafayette and other key players, and they staged the French Revolution. So we need to reason why we are saying the French Revolution of 1789 was inevitable. In other words, it at whatever cost it had to happen. So number one, we are saying that despotic system of government of the Bourbon monarchy. We are saying the Bourbon monarchy was so despotic, the leaders were not willing to listen. For example, King Louis XVI said, "I'm the state and the state is me." It was this kind of a situation that made the majority peasants, who were around 23 millions, they had to rise up against the nobles and the clergy, who were 2 millions. Because by this time, they were not willing to accept to be ruled under the despotic regime. You remember Louis XVI said, "The thing is illegal because I wish it." In other words, even he was not willing to rule according to the constitution. It is this that made the majority of the masses to rise up, and they had to stage what? A revolution. So we are saying that the despotic system of government of the Bourbon monarchy made the French Revolution of 1789 inevitable. Another point, the unfair social class stratification of France. It is said in France there was what you call unfair social class stratification. People are divided into classes: nobles, clergy, and the peasants. It is said the peasants were 23 millions, the nobles and the clergy were 2 millions. In this kind of arrangement, the peasants were the majority. We are being oppressed by the nobles and the clergy. For example, they used to pay high rent on the land. Those that were settling on the clergy land had to pay a lot of money. By this time, it is said there was what you call letter di caccetti, imprisoning people without what? Trial. And the most affected were the peasants. So it was a question of class stratification that made the French by this time, the peasants, to rise up against the nobles and the clergy, because they were fighting against class stratification. They were not willing to be classified into classes. Another one, the huge influence of the system of government of England on France. It is said England, they had a monarchy, but for them they had a constitutional monarchy. So the huge influence of the system of governance of England, where the people of England were being controlled using the constitution. So the French were saying, how comes that in France we don't have a constitution? Even England, they have a monarchy, but for them they have a what? A constitution. So it is this influence that influenced the French by 1789, and they staged the what? A revolution. And this made the French Revolution of 1789 inevitable. Then the example of the successful American War of Independence, 1776 to 1783. What happened? It is said in the American War of Independence, Louis XVI sent French soldiers to go and help the Americans to get their independence. But when they reached there, they realized that the people they were helping, they were even far better than them. They were led by a leading fighter, Lafayette, immobilized people, and they had to join the revolution. It is said in the American War of Independence, the king used a lot of money to help Americans get their independence. I can say helping couldn't be bad, but the problem was one. He was helping others when people were struggling at where? At home. It is this that made the disgruntled people to stage a revolution. Then the influence of the political philosophers. These were great thinkers of the time, among them Voltaire. This man was a restless writer. He could write even in times of sleep. Montesquieu, lead thinker. Then, of course, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. This man wrote and said, many are born free, but everywhere they are in chains. In other words, men are born free when they are babies, but at a time when they want a decrease in the price of bread, they had to go to King Louis XVI. The wife, Marie Antoinette, had to tell them, if bread is expensive, try cakes. And by this time, when they wanted issues concerning about decrease in issues of taxes on land, they used to go to the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church used to take people's what? People's land. So it was a question of the philosophers who wrote ideas concerning about to change. Their books were read by so many people. Those who read the books had to join the revolution. And this led to the French Revolution of 1789. Let me tell you something. By the time the revolution took place, these philosophers were already dead. But their writings impacted the masses, and the masses staged what? A revolution. Then the weakness in the character of King Louis XVI. I can say Louis XVI, a man who took political power when he was 20 years, in 1774. This man took political power, but he was a very weak man. When he took power, he said, in this kind of arrangement, this man said that he didn't know whether he could manage to control a country called what? France. He was very weak that he could cry in heated debates. When that debate was so hot, people are criticizing his government, he used to cry in the meetings. I can tell you, it was the weakness of King Louis XVI that made the masses in France to rise up, and they had to stage what? A revolution. This man was easily influenced by the wife, Marie Antoinette. one of the most beautiful women of her time. It is said he made the king to move away from the real principle. This made the masses to rise up and stage one, a revolution. Then the bad character of Queen Marie Antoinette. Very bad in character. Moreover, she was a foreigner from Austria. It is said this woman could not read the situation at hand. Even at a time when there was the increase in the price of bread. When the peasants went and they told her to decrease on the price of bread, she told them, if bread is expensive, try cake. She could not read the faces of people. It is this that made the masses in France to rise up and stage a revolution. They were not willing to accept the leadership of King Louis XVI because he was under the influence of the beautiful Marie Antoinette. Then the worsening financial crisis and bankruptcy in France. It is said in France there was the worsening financial what? Crisis. Prices of, it is said, even prices of goods were increasing. Moreover, people didn't have money. One of the key issues that led to great financial crisis was the American War of what? Independence, where the king used a lot of money in the war and the economy was struggling at home. It is said the king dismissed the leading economic thinkers, Necker and Turgot. I can tell you, when Necker and Turgot were dismissed, the economy moved from bad to worse. One of the leading brains by the time, Mirabeau, had to say when Necker and Turgot were dismissed. Mirabeau said, I'm seeing death near me. In others, I'm dying today. If the ordinary people that can rectify the economy have been dismissed, I'm dying today. So the financial crisis made the majority peasants who were even paying so many taxes to rise up in large numbers against the regime. Mind you, they wanted to rise up against King Louis the 16th. Then the catastrophic effect of the Anglo-French Free Trade Treaty of 1786. This was a treaty where France allowed the British goods to come in France without paying taxes. I can tell you, this annoyed the traders in France. What happened? The traders realized that for them, they were not successful in business because the British goods in France were not paying what? Taxes. This meant in real sense of economics that the French goods were more expensive than the British what? Goods. Because the British, for them, they are not paying what? Taxes. So it is this that annoyed the traders. They joined the side of the revolutionaries, and this made the French Revolution of 1789 inevitable. Then the bad weather and economic distress, 1788 to 1789. At a time when the situation was not good in terms of economy. There was what you call bad weather. People planted their crops, but the crop did not come out well. So they had nothing to eat. The main type of food was bread, and it was very what? Expensive. So it was this bad weather that made the majority peasants to rise up in large numbers against King Louis XVI because the king was not solving people's what? Problems. According to big brands in history, like Dennis Richards, a man who wrote Illustrated Modern Europe. Dennis Richards is saying, if situations are not good, people must rise up and overthrow the what? The government. I can tell you that's what the French did. Another one, the increasing grievances of the French army, especially the peasants, especially the what? In the French army, the army men, soldiers had so many grievances. Poor pay, poor accommodation. It is this that made the French Revolution of 1789 to be inevitable. What happened? The army sided on the side of what? people. Instead of siding with the government, it sided on the side of what? People. And this made the French Revolution of 1789 inevitable. Because when the army sided on the side of people, even those who are not willing to join the struggle, they had to join the what? The struggle, and made the revolution inevitable. Then the role of the French encyclopedias, like D. Alambert and Denis Diderot, these ones were thinkers. Also, they criticized King Louis XVI. Their books were read by so many people. Those who read the books had to join the struggle. And this made the French Revolution of 1789 to be what? Inevitable. So the year 1789 was a great year in history because people rose up in large numbers and staged the what? A revolution. Then the convening and mishandling of the Estates General Meeting in May 1789. I can tell you, at a time when things were not good, finally the king called the Estates General Meeting, where nobles and the clergy had grievances, and even the peasants had what? Grievances. But the major group with the grievances, they were the peasants. Because they were paying so many taxes, they did not have freedom of worship, freedom of speech. By this time, the king called the Estates General Meeting, but they disagreed. The king told the representative of the peasants that you go back, you'll come back tomorrow. By this time, the peasants, he gave out a reason that they are going to paint the building where the meeting is going to take place. By this time, the peasants went and sat in the tennis court. By this time, they say, we are not going to move from here, except bayonet will make us to move from here. By this time, a revolution had started. Because they started rising up, finally, they started, for example, they did great things, like marching to Versailles, the storming of the Bastille prison. So I can tell you, the year 1789 was a great year, because in that year, people rose up and staged what? A revolution. So you must have the ability to reason the key issues that made the French to rise up and stage what? A revolution. So the outbreak of the French Revolution of 1789 was inevitable, discussed. So we are saying today Kasoma Faruq of Uganda is putting a caveat on that number. I don't expect any student to fail that what? That number. So we are saying the French Revolution of 1789 was a fundamental change which took place in France, where the peasants, who were 23 millions, had to rise up against the nobles and the clergy, who were 2 millions. So we are saying the year 1789, the masses of the middle class, peasants, and the disgruntled nobility rose up against the despotic Bourbon monarchy of King Louis XVI. The despotic system of government was replaced by the revolutionary and the republican governments. So we are saying the year 1789 was not a normal year, because in this year, people rose up and staged a revolution. I can tell you the big names in this revolution. There was a man called King Louis XVI with the wife Marie Antoinette. Some of the leading players against this king, we had big names like Mirabeau. We had Lafayette, a man who fought in the American War of Independence. Louis XVI made a strategic mistake. He sent the French soldiers to go in America and help the Americans to get their independence. But when they reached there, they realized that the people they were helping, they were even far better